Welcome to Crossroads. The Trump campaign says it's been hacked. Now, it's alleged an Iranian hacker group stole internal memos, including a 270-page dossier on his running mate, Vance. Then the alleged Iranian hackers leaked these documents to a couple news outlets, one of them being Politico. The breach follows recent warnings, notably that Iran and other countries were trying to tamper with U.S. elections. And, as global conflicts rise around the growing axis of Iran, China, and Russia, this recent breach is actually a lot broader than just, election interference. Now, to start, I should just mention, look, the recent breach of the Trump campaign is being pinned on Iran. Now, I could see this being plausible, but I'd also say you never know. Remember back in 2016, we were told that Russia was doing the exact same thing. They were accused of breaching the Democrat campaign servers. It's possible, but evidence later suggested that it also could have been an internal breach. There were accusations that President Donald Trump had encouraged this, although notably, that claim was from comments he made that were taken out of context. And then that was used to frame a larger scandal. And remember, at that time, later on, when the whole Trump-Russia dossier was leaked, which was also heavily in response to investigations into whether Trump had colluded with Russia on the Democrat server breach, we also later found out it was just opposition research. It wasn't real. So now we have a very similar situation, only this time it's the Republican networks being breached, not the Democrat networks. And this time the stolen documents are being provided directly to a news outlet. So the situation with this server breach is, flipped this time around. And also this time there's a very real growing global axis forming, which again includes Iran, the country this is being pinned on. And this makes the situation a whole lot more complicated. Now first, let's have a look at what just happened. Politico said this: former President Donald Trump's campaign said Saturday that some of its internal communications had been hacked. The acknowledgement came after Politico began receiving emails from an anonymous account with documents from inside Trump's operation. It says the campaign blamed foreign sources hostile to the United States, citing a Microsoft report on Friday that Iranian hackers, quote, sent a spear phishing email in June to a high-ranking official on a presidential campaign. A spear phishing email, notably, would be someone sends you an email address and maybe there's an infected link in there. You click it, it infects your computer. Or sometimes it might even just opening the email might infect your computer with a script. But they say that Microsoft did not identify the campaign targeted by the email and declined to comment on Saturday. So it's not fully confirmed yet. Now it notes that Politico has not independently verified the identity of the hacker or their motivation. And a Trump campaign spokesperson, Stephen Chung, declined to say if they had further information substantiating the campaign's suggestion that it was targeted by Iran. Now they note on July 22nd, Politico began receiving emails from an anonymous account. Over the course of the past few weeks, the person, who used an AOL email account and identified themselves only as Robert, relayed what appeared to be internal communications from a senior Trump campaign official. It says a research dossier the campaign had apparently done on Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator Vance, which was dated February 23rd, was included in the documents. It says the documents are authentic, according to two people familiar with them, and granted anonymity to describe internal communications. One of the people described the dossier as a preliminary version of Vance's vetting file, right? They want to check him out, find out what he's about. It says the research dossier was a 271-page document based on publicly available information about Vance's past record and statements, with some, such as his past criticisms of Trump, identified in the document as potential vulnerabilities. It says the person also sent part of a research document about Florida Senator Marco Rubio, who was also a finalist for the vice presidential nomination. The person said they had a variety of documents, from Trump's legal and court documents to internal campaign discussions. Now, on this note, the story pointing to the Iranian breach came out just prior to this. And so kind of the basis of how they say, Iran breached the servers, at least on the surface, it was based on this. Let me show you the analysis on the campaign from the Microsoft Threat Analysis Center. They said this on August 9th. Foreign malign influence concerning the 2024 U.S. election started off slowly, but has steadily picked up pace over the last 6 months, due initially to Russian operations, but more recently from Iranian activity. It says this third election report from the Microsoft Threat Analysis Center, or MTAC, provides an update on what we've observed from Russia, Iran, and China since our second report in April of 2024. Over the past several months, we have seen the emergence of significant influence activity by Iranian actors. Iranian cyber-enabled influence operations have been a consistent feature of at least the last 3 U.S. election cycles. Iran's operations have been notable and distinguishable from Russian campaigns for appearing later in the election season and employing cyber attacks more geared toward election conduct than swaying voters. It says recent activity suggests the Iranian regime, along with the Kremlin, Russia, may be equally engaged in election 2024 right now. It notes further in that Iranian actors have recently laid the groundwork for influence operations aimed at U.S. audiences and potentially seeking to impact the 2024 U.S. presidential election. This recent cyber-enabled influence activity arises from a combination of actors which are conducting initial cyber reconnaissance, meaning they're using cyber attacks to kind of like look at the landscape or maybe breach different systems just to gain access to them and see how they can use them. And then it says they're also seeding online personas and websites into the information space. So personas being maybe fake influencers or actual influencers who they may be feeding information to, and also websites, they're either creating new websites or feeding information to websites they can influence. So they're using surface, people you can watch online, and they're also looking at what they can breach and steal using cyber operations. Two-tiered, right? Now, the Microsoft document details, more how Iranian hackers are working closely with both Russian and Chinese Communist Party groups on their cyber operations. So it appears this is not just limited to Iran, it's also Russia to an extent, and China, and the combination of their networks launching these types of attacks and influence operations targeted at influencing the American elections in 2024. A heavy focus of the campaign is influence operations, using huge networks of controlled accounts, propaganda news websites, propaganda video channels, and also similar things like this. The idea of an influence campaign is, of course, you want to influence certain individuals to carry your message or to change their opinions. It's a type of, worldview warfare. When it comes to elections, part of that may be trying to change the opinions of influencers or politicians, making it so that they become voices of a particular narrative. The other side is you want to influence the voters themselves, change their worldview, change what they think about a certain individual in order to change the outcome this time of the election.